are national champions. See Howard this year dicing up coverage, 9 for 13, 141 yards against man. This season, Howard, the best completion percentage against man by any quarterback while throwing 10 touchdowns, no picks. Dusty Dvorak with me. Booger McFarland as well. Booger, great to be with you. You and I have, it's been way too long.
Tell me about it. Glad to be here, brother.
Had to come to Atlanta to see you, but I'm happy to do it. And Dusty, you and I have been talking a bunch throughout this playoff. You've come down to D.C., and we've talked a lot about Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And they play man. And just like what Ohio State was talking about and what Notre Dame was talking about here, playing man. They did. What do you think of that decision?
Well, it was a mistake there at the end. The problem was nothing was working. Man wasn't working. Zone wasn't working. Will Howard had all the tricks in the bag. But at the end of the game, one-score game, 3rd and 11, not to have a safety over the top. I'm okay playing man. I'm surprised they didn't have help over the top. 4 against 29, Gray on Smith. It was a mismatch throughout the course of the game. Will Howard said after the game, if he identified man, he was going to take his shot. Scott, we were standing down in the end zone before the game started. They were working on that exact route, and they were throwing dimes just like that.
One
they got the
after
coverage
another.
they wanted,
Yep.
and it was a perfectly placed pass by Will Howard in the biggest moment of the football game.
If you follow this sport closely, if you follow recruiting at all, you knew that this Smith war was a war. And it was Miami and Ohio State. They were throwing dollars back and forth until the very end. Ohio State got their guy. And he's a young man, but he plays like a grown man. And he made the difference tonight. And here he is afterwards on that coverage and the plays he made.
It's all about them wanting to play man. And then when you need to play, I mean, it's just you and a guy on an island out there. Take me through that moment.
I just knew I had to beat the man in front of me. There was a man, and, Will trusted me to put the ball out there, and I decided to make a play.
Was it mean to you to make that kind of play, Jeremiah? I mean, we were talking to you a week and a half ago, one catch,
Yeah. Something that I've been doing is man on man. Been doing it for a long time, so, it's football. At the end of the day, I just know how to go out there and beat the man in front of me.
It finally comes down to a simple play in a national championship game? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure, basically. Yeah, kind of. They're man on man, so, of course, we go take shots, and that's exactly what we did.
He's a teenager. He's already just as good as anyone. Go ahead, Booger.
Scott, I've been watching that kid since he was in high school. His high school played my daughter's high school, who's a cheerleader. I stood on the sideline when he was there, and I said that kid should be in the NFL. He's 6'3", 225 pounds. He's doing the same thing they did in high school on the collegiate level. He's been doing that a long time. So when you say you're going to play a man-to-man, that's how he grows up playing. When they're on the sand line, hey, you got me, I got you. He's been doing that all his life. That's nothing to him right now.
No, and it's funny. You hear personnel people talk about if everyone in college football were available to be drafted, and there's plenty of talented guys coming out, they'd take this guy right now. Ohio State, you get to enjoy him for 2 more years, and then obviously he'll head to the NFL. But Will Howard's got to deliver the ball on time. He starts the game 13 for 13 and delivers the biggest pass of the game late. What did he show you over the course of this playoff run, Booger, in terms of his leadership?
Well, it's about his poise. Playing that position is less to do about talent and more to do about your poise under pressure. Will Howard showed you, okay, put the Michigan game aside. In the playoff run, Chip Kelly, can you trust me? See, a quarterback can tell how an offensive coordinator or a coach trusts him based on the plays that they call.
And it seemed like he didn't against Michigan. I still can't believe that game plan.
Michigan was turned around and handed off. No. First couple plays of Tennessee, throw it deep to number 4. I'm texting you, hey, they figured out throw it to 4. And the confidence that Will Howard got from that was unbelievable. And you saw a quarterback play with confidence every game, game in and game out. And he started this game 13 for 13. The confidence was rolling. And that confidence from your quarterback, it breeds all through the team. And this entire team played with confidence, Scott.
Third downs. 8 of the 9 third downs he converted. 4 rushing, 4 passing. He was tremendous when he had to be. Also, the offensive line. They've been banged up. Going into this game, Notre Dame was a 44% pressure rate. Number 1 in college football. 20% pressure rate tonight. Lowest they've had all season. So he also had time. Yes, everything Booger said is right, but it was also those guys up front gave him time. He had the protection to survey the field, find the open man, and make the plays when they needed to.
I haven't asked anyone that I've talked with yet about the decision for Notre Dame to go for 3. You're trailing by 16. I understand that Ohio State defense is, I think, the best in college football inside the 10-yard line. They've demonstrated it over and over and over. And yet, I don't get that. Now, granted, they didn't get the 3. They didn't get the 3, even though they tried for it. I just am curious what you thought of the decision. Go ahead, Booger.
Anytime you're in those moments, I think the coach is trying to make the best decision for his team. Hindsight is always 2015. Marcus wishes he would have gone for that, because if he known what the field goal kicker was going to do, of course he'd go for it.
I understand, but even if you get it,
it doesn't matter because you still need 2 more possessions. And I think that's the one where he goes back and he says, I don't want to kill the momentum of my team when I missed the 4th down. And maybe that's the reason he's going for it. If it were me, I would have gone for the 4th down and try to get the touchdown.
I was surprised. I was very surprised. And Marcus Freeman has pushed all the right buttons. We think about the matchup with Kirby Smart, that Sugar Bowl, and he matches wits with him, and he's getting all this praise. I thought in the moment they had a little momentum. 4th and 9, as that field shrinks against that great defense, that is a low percentage play.
It is.
But at the same time, I was surprised they lined up to kick the field goal, and it just kind of felt like they've been aggressive a lot this season, and when they weren't, and it doinks off the upright, it just kind of thought, it's almost as if that was supposed to happen in that moment. So I was surprised. I thought they were going to go pedal to the metal, try to get it to a 1-score game. They don't, and ultimately they kind of, unable to complete that comeback. But the resiliency was on display again.
It was.
When they were down 24, I think a lot of people thought, oh, boy, this thing could get really out of control.
Yep.
Give credit to this football team. All year they've been resilient, overcoming injuries, overcoming a lot of different things, coming back against Penn State, losing the 2nd game of the season and making it to this point. They fought to the bitter end. I give them a lot of credit for that.
They earned it. I do ask one last quick thought about what Ohio State puts out in terms of a blueprint. I don't know how many teams have the wherewithal, funds, and players to do it. But in this modern NIL playoff era, if you've got people that you can convince to stick around, and you've got the deep pocket donors that can keep them around, you got a chance, because it can't just be portal pieces, because that'll never work. I just don't know how many teams, Booger, there are that could live in this space that Ohio State's in.
Well, I think there's enough that can challenge Ohio State, because, Scott, college football is about a band of brothers. If I can get my band of brothers to stick together, as you're talking about, and get those guys that are going to be 2nd and 3rd round picks, hey, come back. Come back, because the money in college football is just as much as a 2nd or 3rd round pick. If you're not a surefire 1st round pick, come back and play another year with the band of brothers, because we will never get this year back again. So I think that can be created, because there's only going to be 32 first-round picks, Scotty. And if you're not guaranteed to be one of those, I think it's more convenient, and the money is more plentiful now, that you can convince guys to come back.
I totally agree. And look, Michigan a year ago, they had a lot of those guys came back for another year. Ohio State this year, a lot of those guys came back. There is something about culture. There's something about team, and something about coming back and doing something together. And now that there's a monetary reason to also do that on top of it, I think that's one of the added benefits of this. Now, I think your question is how many people have the resources to be able to help ensure that's the case. That's a good question. But if you can keep that core group of guys together, supplementing the portal with the Will Howard, with the Quinshon Judkins, that's the recipe I think that we're going to see teams try to go after and try to attack.
Try is the key word there. All right, this guy came to D.C. to see me. Springtime, when we can get out and play a little golf, you can come up and see me in D.C.
I can't wait, brother. I can't wait.
I know some places we can get out. All right, that's Booger and Dusty. I appreciate your time, guys. We're still waiting on the quarterback and the coach, Will Howard. Ryan Day going to join us when they're done visiting with the media to share their thoughts as they are